Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Couch Scouts podcast. I'm your host, Matt Jackson. With me, as always, I've got my co host, Matt Cooper
What's up?
and Matt Rupert.
How's it going?
Fellas, how are we doing tonight, man? We got an exciting show for our listeners tonight with a mock draft. I'm excited to get into it. I hope you guys are.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Y'all might notice we have a few more faces on the screen if you're a regular listener to the show. So I want to introduce our guests here tonight. We have three guys who have contributed in significant ways to the Couch Scouts brand. And so with our final kind of show here before the NFL draft, I thought this would be a good chance to give them a platform as we do this mock draft, because it's more fun to have more people in a mock draft than just the three of us anyway. But first, I want to introduce my guy Thomas Peterson. He's going to be kind of in the seat of, like, if you're just a listener that doesn't create content and you consider yourself more of just your average dynasty player, Thomas kind of represents. He's the stand-in for you guys tonight. This is his first ever podcast. But I know he knows his stuff. He's an intense dynasty player, and we brought him on because he has managed our Discord server for us. So thank you, Thomas, for running that. We got our guy Nino Brown. So Nino runs our social media, does a lot of our marketing, our SEO. He makes the thumbnails on our YouTube. So he does a lot behind the scenes to help the brand go. We're really appreciative of Nino, and he is a content creator. So CFB Nation. What else you got? Devi. You got your hand in everything, Nino. Why don't you just tell the people a little bit of what you do?
I do. CFB Nation is the main one, but I write some articles and do some graphics for league winners, and I also do some content for Debbie Degens, just college, freshmen, sophomores coming in. I'm on it.
Yeah, man. So Nino, he really knows his stuff. He's a good friend of mine. Very excited to have him on the show. And last but not least, you've seen him before, John Fosbury. He's our quarterbacks guru, former coach. He did all of the quarterback section of the rookie guide that we're going to be talking about here in a minute. So Foz, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. Happy to be a contributor to that phenomenal rookie guide that you're about to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So very excited to have these guys on the show, and we'll kind of at the end when we wrap up, we'll hit all y'all's Twitter handles so they can find you and follow you, and we'll have those in the show description too. So yeah, let's throw it back to Matt Jackson and tell the people what we're going to be doing tonight.
Yeah, so tonight we're actually doing, in lieu of the NFL draft that's starting this week, we're doing a 4-round rookie mock. It's going to be Superflex and tight end premium for you guys. And just because of the nature of it, man, it's going to be 4 rounds. So it's going to be a little fast paced. So we're not going to be going really in depth on a lot of the picks that we make. But something cool for you guys, we do have, if you want to get more in depth into some of these picks that we're making, the guys that we're talking about, Cooper, Rupert, we did a thing today that I think needs talking about.
Yeah, man, we're pretty proud. I'm not even gonna lie about it. This is, you've probably seen other people like late round quarterback, Matt Waldman, Matt Hicks. A lot of guys put out really great rookie guides, and we figured, hey, let's try our hand at it. I mean, last year, I didn't have a rookie guide where everything was written out and somebody could reference it during their draft. But if you followed along with my YouTube channel, I mean, I had CJ Stroud QB1 throughout the process. I told everybody who would listen to fade Quentin Johnston. I had Achane as my RB3 and a priority target at the top of the second round of rookie drafts. I had Tank Dell as my favorite late round sleeper. Took him in the third round of almost all of my rookie drafts. And so we really believe that watching film and scouting can give you an edge over just like following along with ADP or whatever the case may be. And so we felt pretty good about our analysis, the work that we put in. I mean, literally hundreds of hours watching tape. And we wrote up a rookie guide for you guys. It's 74 pages. You could go in there, get a full profile, strengths, weaknesses, trait by trait on over 60 prospects. Our rankings are in there. Our film score is in there. So, man, it was a lot of work, but I'm so proud of what we put together. I think it's an awesome resource. We believe that if you dominate. If you scout well, you're going to dominate your rookie draft. And if you dominate your rookie draft over and over and over again, you're going to dominate your league and you're going to build that dynasty that everybody wants to build. And I know that not everybody has time or even the experience and the skills to get in there and watch hundreds of hours of film and really find that edge. So we did it for you guys. You can get it for just $10. Hundreds of hours of research for just $10.
For less than the cost of going and picking up yourself a fast food meal, you can get league winning upside and advice. So
absolutely. So you know what? If you feel like, hey, I don't really need a rookie guide, I know what I'm doing, and you just want to support the channel, that's great too. If you are like, hey, I just want to take your rankings and draft 100% off your rankings, that's fine. We did the work. We stand behind them. If you want to get in there and read the profiles and get a feel for who these players are and make educated guesses for yourself based off of our analysis, that's great too. But yeah, we feel, Dynasty Dogs, Mike, he's been supporting us in the background. He's a great guy. He says the guide is awesome, guys. Congratulations. I appreciate it. So, we're not going to delay this too long. You guys are here for a rookie mock. We want to get in the rookie mock, but the link will be in the description. Pick up your copy. And actually, we're going to be giving one away to celebrate the release. We just released it this afternoon. So if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple or leave a comment on this YouTube video, you will be entered in to win. And on our next show, we're going to pick one person. We're going to give away a free copy of that rookie guide. But definitely encourage you guys to check that out.
For sure. And we will be updating that after the draft as well, because we know things change with landing spots minimally. So just an update on that. But guys, what do you say we go ahead and get into this rookie draft? I say we prolonged it enough. It's time to really dive into this. And of course, it's like I said earlier, it's going to be a Superflex tight end premium rookie draft. And the order is going to be the same. It's going to go Foz, Nino, Thomas, Cooper, Rupert, and then me. And then we're going to start over from the beginning. So, Foz, I'm going to go ahead and throw it at you, man. Who do you have at 101 in this rookie draft?
Easy, no-brainer selection for me, Caleb Williams, 1 of 1, rushing upside, make all the throws, all the talent in the world. This is what you're looking for in a Superflex QB. Immediately top 5, top 8 QB in the league for fantasy.
Yeah, I think that's almost the no-brainer pick, right? That's the one that everybody's going to pick. You're not going to think too much about that pick. But at pick 2, I would say that's where things start to get interesting in a lot of drafts, mock drafts that I've seen, and then some rookie drafts. But so, Nino, why don't you go ahead and jump us off?
It's definitely getting interesting in this one.
I went with LSU wide receiver Malik Nabers. He's been my wide receiver 1 for the past, I'm going to go with 6 or 7 weeks. It's not that far apart. It's just when it comes to like him in the route, he's like a magician. You just never know what you're going to get from him when he's route running. You never know what he's going to go, where he's going to cut to. He messes with the DBs at will, and then he can play physical. He can get shifty with you. I just feel like Marvin Harrison, he's going to get his targets. It's just I don't feel when it comes to like that when in the route running, he has what Nabers has, and then his catch radius is stupid. It's just, to me, Nabers just has that little bit more that I would want in fantasy. I just think that he's going to put up more numbers year 1 than Marvin Harrison. Now, it's a body work. I don't really know, but I think in the first year or 2, I think Nabers is going to be the guy that you're going to want.
See, I think that's interesting because, Cooper, we were actually having a conversation the other day where you were struggling how to rank Nabers versus Odunze. And the conversation wasn't Nabers versus Marvin Harrison. So the fact that Marvin Harrison goes first here, is he closer to 1 than he is to 3?
I mean, look, there's no consensus. I mean, if there was a consensus, it would be Harrison at 1, but there's plenty of respected analysts in the community that have Nabers at 1. There's people that have Odunze at 1, and all 3 of these guys are elite prospects. You can't really go wrong with any of them. Personally, I'm a guy that feels like Marvin Harrison is tier of his own, generational, all those descriptors that you would throw out that everybody used to just assume that was the case. And now it's become more of a debate. I lean on the side like, yeah, Marvin Harrison is that dude. So, no disrespect to Nabers or Odunze. That for me, the debate at number 2, if I was on the clock, would have been between Harrison and Daniels. But we'll throw it over to Thomas. Who did you take at 103?
I was jumping up and down for Marvin Harrison Jr. I love that prospect. I think he has justification to go first overall. I think he's the complete package. What more do you want from him? He is put everything you want for stats. He's done everything you can for the route running. I love Marvin Harrison. I would take him 101.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing left really to be said about Marvin Harrison, right? I mean, he's the complete package that you want out of a wide receiver: body control, route running, speed. I mean, he's got everything that you want. So that's an easy pick there. I like that pick. Let's go ahead and throw it to Cooper. You're up at 104. Who are you taking there?
Yeah, so I mentioned that my debate at 102 would have been between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jaden Daniels, and obviously only one of those two players is left. So Jaden Daniels was the pick. I think for me, Caleb is in a tier of his own at quarterback, and then Jaden Daniels is actually in tier 2 all by himself. There's not a single world, I think, at this point pre-draft where I would take May or JJ McCarthy over him at the quarterback position. I think he's much safer than them because of his rushing. And I actually think he's a better passer too. He goes through his progressions. He's a better decision maker. He's more consistently accurate than the other two guys as well. So for me, he's my clear number 2 quarterback, and in a super flex league with the upside from his rushing, I've got to take Jaden Daniels here at 104, and I feel great about it.
Yeah, for sure. On to you at 105, Rupert.
I went Rome Odunze here. It's, again, also a complete package. It's really hard to go wrong with those top 3 receivers. They're all so good. And I can see a world where Rome is the top producing rookie wide receiver. If he's the 3rd wide receiver off the board, maybe gets a better landing spot. I think he has such a safe floor too. So
one of the things that I find interesting about Rome Odunze is when we did our initial Inside the Prospect series on him, we liked him. We thought he was a good prospect. We weren't nearly as high on him as we were when we came away after watching all the film and doing the rookie page. I mean, he's been that guy that I think has climbed the most in our team's perception of him.
Absolutely. I'll just speak to that very briefly. What he does is not always flashy. And so on the first initial watch, it's easy to be like, is he as good as he's hyped up to be? Because he's not as explosive maybe as the other two guys, and he doesn't create as much separation, and the catches are amazing. I mean, but I just think he's so complete, and the things that he does well, route running, it maybe doesn't pop off like he's breaking somebody's ankles and he's getting 5 yards open, but he is consistently running really crisp routes and presenting a target for his quarterback. So yeah, the more I watch Rome Odunze, the more I love him. And the score for me between him and Neighbors was very, very close. For sure.
Yeah. And we're up to 106, and that was me. And guys, I kind of had a little bit of a debate when it came to this pick. I know that it's super flex, but it's also tight end premium. So the two guys that I was going back and forth here were Drake May and, of course, Brock Bowers. And, I believe Bowers is a generational prospect when it comes to the tight end position. So this isn't discrediting him at all, but it is a super flex league, right? And the upside, the value is still there on quarterbacks when it comes to this type of league. So I went Drake May. Look, Drake May has got some issues. Okay, he's not the perfect prospect. He's got some really problematic fundamental stuff. He's got some accuracy issues that he showed this year, but the upside is still there when it comes to his rushing upside, his deep ball. I mean, his deep ball is a thing of beauty. We comped him, Foz, you can speak to this a little bit. We comped him to a poor man's Josh Allen. So if I can get a poor man's Josh Allen in the middle of the first round in a Superflex league, I'm taking that all day.
Yeah, man, skinny Josh Allen, right? He's skinny Josh Allen. Like, he's going to need some coaching. He's going to need some fine tuning. His landing spot on Thursday is going to be huge for his outlook moving forward. But this is in a Superflex draft. This is right in the area where you're drafting. And I had 107, so I can just jump in, I guess, right? Where if I was, if it was Bowers at 106, I'd be sitting here debating that same debate, May, McCarthy, right? I'll always take my guy, JJ. I think this is the point where if you're drafting, this is a coin flip. It's pick your preference. Do you want the more project in May who's going to maybe sit a year or maybe take some time to develop? Or do you want McCarthy, who can probably step in and run an NFL offense right away, but his upside is probably a little capped? So I'm fine taking McCarthy here. I think he's going to, the quarterback that's going to be able to start right away. And the way, it's working out right now with the mock drafts, like if he lands in Minnesota, like that's a, wheels up, like he's going to take off immediately. And I think that's huge to factor in.
If he's tied to Justin Jefferson, that's something to consider.
If he's tied to Justin Jefferson, he wouldn't be on the board at 107. I can tell you that right now. Somebody would have taken him sooner. So
he's also got Jordan Addison. Let's not forget about that guy.
Yeah. And I mean, Hawkinson, when he gets healthy, that's a stacked team. Now they got Aaron Jones too. It's a juicy spot for sure.
Yeah, right in that West Coast system where it's just going to be, make your steps, get the ball out, make the right reads, and that's all stuff like McCarthy's going to do. Like, no one's going to ask him to throw the ball 30 yards downfield 50 times a game, which is not his jam. Unless he goes to Washington, then forget about it. But, but that's where I landed on McCarthy, and I'm happy, very happy taking 107. Even though Bowers, generational tight end is sitting right there. I think tight ends are more landing spot dependent when they're drafted that early, especially. We saw that with Pitts. We kind of see it. We saw it early on with Kittle. We see it with like guys like Noah Fant and stuff like that, where they have all the talent in the world, but then, when they land, wherever they land, it's like, maybe they're not used great, or they have to block too much, or, there's so many things that can happen with Bowers, and McCarthy felt safer to me at 107.
For sure. Well, going on to 108, that's Nino's pick. And Nino, you finally answered the question we were all debating on.
Yeah. I mean, at Superflex and tight end premium, it'd be stupid for me not to take Bowers here. And just to, kind of go off of what Fozzie said. Yeah, you're right about the tight ends, but not last year. And I think we're starting to see something change a little bit here. We've seen 3 tight ends actually be very relevant, and Michael Mayer got relevant towards the end of the season. So there was a lot of guys that they're not afraid to throw in there that are receiving tight ends. Bowers is a receiving tight end. He's the receiving tight end. So I'll take him here. I don't care where he lands. He can land in Washington for all that matters. You know what I mean? I'll take him. I think in, tight end premium, it's give me the points. I'll steal.
No, this is just such a stacked draft class. Like, to get a prospect like Bowers at 108, I don't think we fully get like how ridiculous that is. Like, your fantasy team just made the playoffs. You're a pretty good dynasty team.
You're getting him.
And you're adding like maybe the best tight end prospect ever in a tight end premium league at the 8th pick. Like, come on, man, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, this whole, and we're going to see it here going through this entire first round. I mean, there's not a bad pick in the first round, I think. So I'm excited to just kind of see how the rest of it plays out. We're going to, let me see, Thomas at 109. Thomas, who you got?
This is a tough one. 109 and really to almost 202. You could choose anybody and nobody would really blink an eye. So I had a tough one, but I think this is a CouchScouts approved one with Xavier Worthy. He has it all. Well, almost all of it. He doesn't have the size, but he's got the speed. He's got the route running. You got the high upside kind of player that is exciting. And I'm hoping he gets the good draft capital, the first round pick, to make that worth the 109 and really just be able to prove it for everyone else.
You see, I love that pick because most of the time you see these speed guys not really do a whole lot in the NFL. NFL teams love the speed guys, but they're not huge PPR producers outside of like a Tyreek Hill, right? But when it comes to Worthy, I mean, he does what a lot of these other speed guys can't do, and that's run really crisp routes. So I think that sets him apart. I love that pick.
Absolutely. And I'm on the clock here at 110. And I get my wide receiver 4. So I love Worthy, but I've got Ladd ranked higher. Ladd McConkey was my pick. I think he's arguably the best route runner in the draft class. He is way faster than anybody gives him credit for. He has positional versatility. People think he's just a slot guy, but he plays outside a ton. He wins deep down the field. He's incredible after the catch. So, grab your lunch pails, get your grind on, throw out whatever stereotype you want to throw out. But I'm taking Ladd McConkey here at the 110. I think he's an easy top 40 pick in the NFL draft. Might even sneak into that late first round. And the tape is just incredible on this dude. I know the production wasn't there at Georgia, but he looks like he could be an elite fantasy producer.
No, for sure. Love that pick. I think that's I have him rated right now a little bit above Worthy, I believe, in our guide as well. So love that pick. Rupert, we're throwing to you at 111.
I went Anani Mitchell here. I think he has insane upside, ridiculous athlete. People will knock his production at Texas, but if you watch the tape, Quinn Ewers was holding them back. Really, the question I have with them is effort, which I'm hoping kind of gets solved at the next level with some coaching and having more money on the line. But I was really, really impressed with his route running, digging into the tape. So much nuance with how he runs routes and uses a lot of defensive manipulation, and he can cut like hardly anyone else at that size. It's incredible.
Does anybody else find it interesting that we'd be talking about Adonai Mitchell a little earlier if he just tried every play?
Yeah.
I got a question real quick for both Matt and Matt Cooper and Rupert. You don't have any concerns with Ladd's injury history, and you really think someone's going to take that risk and get him in the first round? And then with Rupert, Mitchell, you said Quinn was holding him back. Was Stetson Bennett holding him back? Because it was the same thing in Georgia the year before.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say the injury concern is understandable, but I think injuries are so random. Like it's not like he's got multiple catastrophic knee injuries and he's coming in like stuff that should impact him long term. It's just like, no, he's gotten banged up a couple times. I mean, like Christian McCaffrey had a couple years in a row where he couldn't stay healthy and he got this tag put on him. And if you bought that discount, like you're flying high, man. And you could say the same thing about Keenan Allen early in his career. So I think sometimes injuries are just a little fluky and unlucky. And I'm just buying it on the tape, honestly. And I think from everything that I've heard from NFL scouts, even if it's not late first, it's early second. Like he's an easy top 40 pick. So I'm not worried about the draft capital at all.
Gotcha.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't watch Adonai Mitchell at Georgia, so I can't really speak on his production there. But yeah, I was just so impressed with his route running and his movement skills and athleticism. Just like the upside is just so tantalizing to me that I can kind of look past that production profile.
Well, speaking of some injury concerns, one guy that I take at 112 does have some injury concerns, so I want to at least address that. But in my opinion, I'm taking Jonathan Brooks at pick 12. Look, the ACL is a thing. I don't believe ACLs are as bad now as they used to be. It's a weak running back class, and in my opinion, Jonathan Brooks is still the RB1 in this class. What he does between the tackles, his lateral agility, his ability to make a man miss because of his elusiveness. I mean, he looks like the full package, and I can see him getting some day two capital. And if he comes back from that ACL, he's a guy that, like, look, running backs, they have value. Okay. If you get a good running back, you can trade them for almost anything you want. And I believe Jonathan Brooks, while he might not be an elite fantasy producer, he's going to be a really good one. So I'm taking my RB1 at pick 12 in this draft.
Yeah, so let's recap the first round here for people. If you're listening on Apple and you don't have Sleeper in front of you, I'm just going to read it off. So at 101, we had Caleb Williams. At 102, Malik Neighbors. 103, Marvin Harrison Jr. At 104, I took Jaden Daniels. At the 105, Rupert went with Rome Odunze. At the 106, we took Drake May. 107, J.J. McCarthy. 108, Brock Bowers. 109, Xavier Worthy. At the 110, we went with Ladd McConkey. At the 111, Adonai Mitchell. And at 112, Jonathan Brooks. So, Foz, you are on the clock up here at 201. And the deeper we get into this draft, the faster we'll go with this thing. But who'd you take at 201?
I took Brian Thomas Jr. He was my wide receiver 5 from what I've seen. And I really liked what he's one of these guys he popped when I was watching Jaden Daniels. And I really liked half the time he's like open and not getting the ball. And part of it's on Daniels, but I'm really happy to take Thomas here. I was kind of hoping Brooks would be there, not going to lie, but happy to take Thomas for sure. Explosive guy to get at 201.
Another guy.
I just want to point out that this, if you're watching the screen, we have it going snake style, not linear, so don't be confused by that. I just wanted to add that. All right, going to 202, we're going to go to Nino. Who do you got there?
I'm going to take Troy Franklin here. I'm going to take the deep burner. You know, the guy, he's a route runner as well. He's not just a deep threat. So I think this guy could possibly sneak into the first round. I actually have him. I mocked him to Kansas City with all this Rashee Rice issues, they may need a guy that can stretch the field for them. I think pairing him with Patrick Mahomes would be, phenomenal for both of them. And if he gets, day one capital, getting him here at the 202 is just an absolute steal.
Absolutely, man. I just want to real quick say that all the slander I've been seeing that he's just a speed guy and he's whatever, like he's a great route runner, like you said, and we are very pro Troy Franklin here on this show. So I think that's a great pick. Thomas, 203, who'd you get?
I think I went a little off script here. I took Ricky Pearsall. Is that how you say it? I think so. Transferred from ASU to Florida. He has that dog in him. I will say he's got the route running. He's got the athleticism. People are mocking him to the Steelers in the second round, which just is so exciting to me because he's got that capability you kind of want out of a second round receiver.
Yeah, I think
we love Ricky around here.
Absolutely. And then I was on the clock at 204, and I took a guy that at least the three of us on the Couch Scouts podcast, we are all very, very high on him, and that's Javon Baker. We studied him for the podcast a couple weeks ago. We were pretty blown away with the route running and the release against press coverage for a guy that we just really didn't know what to expect diving into the film. We thought he's an underrated route runner. The ball skills were absolutely phenomenal. Not the most explosive guy, but he's got good enough speed to get DBs on their heels and decent after the catch too. I mean, he's a very well-rounded player. He got a very good film score for us. And yeah, I don't know where he's going to go in the draft, but he's a player that we all really like. So I think I could be getting a fantasy starter here at 204 in Javon Baker.
I will say that I was on a phone call with Cooper this afternoon, and when he got on the clock to pick Javon Baker, and I was thoroughly upset about it because I wanted him to fall to me at 206. So
You wouldn't have gotten past me anyways.
That's right.
Yeah, I went with Jermaine Burton here at 205. Character concerns or red flags, are kind of holding him back at this point, but guy with first round talent. So I'm just going to take a swing at the upside here, kind of the mid part of the second round.
Yeah, and then it comes to me at 207, and I'm apparently the only guy that wants to take running backs in this draft from what it looks like. So I went Bucky Irving here. Look, size issues. There's some athleticism testing numbers, at least issues, but I don't really see that on tape. I mean, I know I could probably get him later than I did, but I love the upside when it comes to Bucky Irving. His speed is killer. His explosiveness is through the roof. I mean, he's not a very strong guy, but I mean, he does a lot of things really, really well. Great pass catcher. So I think Bucky Irving could carve out a significant role in the NFL just due to his PPR upside alone. So I love that pick for me.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to jump in here. So that is my guy here on the show. If you've been paying attention, we love Bucky Irving. And in the rookie guide, we told you at the very beginning under like the section on how to use this guide, I said, pay attention to ADP. And just because a guy we have graded in the second round doesn't mean you actually need to take him there because you might be able to get him later. I think this is a case of that where in this draft, we are not trying to pick how we think it would go in your rookie draft. We're just taking our guy. This is who we think is the best available player on the clock. And so we've got Bucky Irving up here with this round 2 grade on him, and he might fall after the draft if he goes day 3. But for now, pre-draft, this is where we've got him, and I think you could get him much later than this. So that's what I would do. I would look to trade back or pick somebody else in the second round and see if you could get him in the middle of the third. But
and to be fair,
I love the pick. I'm just trying to compare like what we're doing here tonight versus what would actually happen in a real rookie draft. So
and I just want to say to add to that too, like know who you're drafting with too, right? Because I know that in most drafts I can get him later. I'm not getting him later versus Cooper or Rupert. So kind of that is some of where that lies. And I want to make sure that, like you were talking about, I got my guy.
Absolutely. So let's throw it to Nino for 207.
It's Foz for 207.
Oh, Foz for 207.
Yeah.
My bad.
This is probably like the anti-value pick from what you just said, but I was like over the moon to draft Trey Benson, who's like my running back too, like after Brooks. And he's like the top of a second tier I have with like him and Lloyd and Corum. He just has so much juice in his legs. Like he's got vision concerns. Like I was like, I don't necessarily know how many yards he's going to get that aren't blocked for him. But man, when that hole opens, he just gets through it and he can like make angles go away that defenders have, whether they're like linebackers fitting in the hole or safeties trying to play, spill or over the top. It's something. Like, I was really blown away. I was like pleasantly surprised with what he was in film. And then, some of the metrics that I've been trying to track for running backs are encouraging for him. So I love getting him like late second round in my drafts. I love it. I think he's such a steal, and like no one's really talking about him much, and no one's really talking a lot about this running back class at all. There's no like hegemon at the top, but this is a really good football player.
Yeah, for sure. We'll go on to 209. Cooper, do you want to say something about that?
No, I was going to say, I think maybe in most mocks, Benson would have been gone already.
Yes.
I mean, things can be skewed when there's only 6 people mocking like this, but I'll throw it over to Nino for the 208.
I'm going to go with a guy I know that you guys aren't really high on. I know I spoke with Cooper about him a little bit. He doesn't really like him, but I think at the next level, I'm not saying he's going to be a 1. I think he could be a nice complement piece. I like his route running and his transitions are good. I like the way he attacks the ball. I think he was didn't help that he was in a scheme that was run heavy as well. So I'm going to go Rome Wilson here. I do believe that I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and a lot of things at the Senior Bowl for me, seeing it up close and personal, made me change my outlook on him. He's got that grit to him. Like, he's not afraid to go across the middle. He's not afraid to take on linebackers or big safeties. He's a good route runner, but he does have kind of sloppy footwork, so he could clean that up a little bit. I know it doesn't really sound right. Good route runner, sloppy footwork, if that makes sense to you guys. But I like the way he attacks the ball. I like the way he could get into a spot, get into space for his quarterback, and for a small guy, kind of has a decent catch radius as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I'm so glad that we've got some people in here that don't think the same way that we do. Because I think that's valuable for the people to hear a different perspective. And if it was just me and Rupert and Jackson in here and we were just basically going through our rankings on the rookie guide and that was the mock draft, that would be pretty boring. Yep. So I love it, man. I love that there's 3 guys in here that aren't as obviously we try to not do the groupthink thing. Like, we all watch the tape separately. We don't share what we think until after we've all done our own tape study. And, we're trying to avoid the groupthink thing, but we all reached the same conclusion on Roman Wilson. We weren't super high on him. But I'm glad that there's a couple people here in the draft room right now that just are outside of our normal podcast sphere. So with that being said, we're going to throw it at the 209 over to Thomas. Who'd you take?
Yeah, I took Blake Corum there. I like Blake. He's got that grit. He's got that competitiveness that you want to see out of a running back. People might think he's just default going to be a Charger, but wherever he ends up, he's going to be that good all-around guy. He's going to get you yardage. He's going to get touchdowns, which is really the big key for running back. So I really like Blake Corum.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think higher on him than I think Cooper or Rupert were, but love that pick. I think Blake Corum's a great late second round pick. We'll go ahead and throw it over to you, Cooper, with 210.
Yeah, so this is a guy that early in the process I wasn't super high on. We had a more limited tape sample early in the process when we first studied him for the podcast, and I had some major vision concerns and was a little bit low on Marshawn Lloyd. But when we came back later in the process to give film scores, and I watched a more full like 6 to 8 game sample, I actually thought his vision was at least average, if not above average. The burst is probably the best in the class. He's very elusive. He's a powerful back. He can catch passes. So Marshawn Lloyd ended up getting a really good grade for me in terms of film score. I know he's a little bit older. There's an injury history there. I'm not sure exactly where he'll go in the NFL draft, but he's my RB3 just based off of tape score. So I feel like to get him at the back half of the second round like this, like almost third round, is really good value. So I'll throw it over to Rupert. Who did you take at the 211?
I took Audric Estime. I think he's one of the few guys in the class that really does have true 3-down potential. Surprisingly soft hands, decent route runner for as big as he is. And I think he plays on tape faster than what he tests. So I think he could be a guy that really surprises if he has a good landing spot.
For sure. Moving on to just the 212 to close out the last pick of this second round. I took Jatavion Sanders, and I really felt that this was a great value pick for me. Tight end premium. I mean, he does a lot of things well. He's got that size speed combo. He's great after the catch. He's got really good body control. He can go up and grab the ball. He's not as defined as Brock Bowers is, but look, in a tight end premium, if I can get the second best tight end for my roster on a championship team in the second round, last pick of the second round, I'm taking that all day for me. So just to recap the second round, for those listening on Apple Podcasts, 201 was Brian Thomas, 202 Troy Franklin, 203 Ricky Pearsall, 204 Javon Baker, 205 Jermaine Burton, 206 Bucky Irving, 207 Trey Benson, 208 Roman Wilson, 209 Blake Corum, 210 Marshawn Lloyd, 211 Audric Estime, and then closing out in the second round with 212 Jatavion Sanders. So we're going to go to 301, and Fodge, you are back on the clock.
I picked Xavier Legette, so clearly the best player on the field when I was scouting future UFL stars. Spencer Rattler had great value, had to pick him.
Oh my gosh, Nino, I gotta let you respond to that, man, because I know Spencer Rattler's your guy.
Foz, what makes you give this gentleman such a terrible score? Because if you watched, I watched it. Unfortunately, I had to watch every single game. I'm on a podcast. It's for South Carolina. I co-hosted with my buddy Brian Bosage. The guy got sacked 79 times in the last 2 seasons and had less than 2.5 seconds to throw the ball. So yeah, he might not have much adjustment in the pocket. I noticed that was one of the key things. Well, what could he adjust to, having 3 guys breathing down his neck?
I'd like him to be more careful with the football under the pressure.
But he's
got to find the sideline, find the feet, find somebody. There's so many times where I was like back breaking.
There were some terrible interceptions. I'll give you that. But outside of Xavier Legette, who did he have?
I know he doesn't have anyone. I mean, yeah, but you could say that about, McCarthy didn't really have much to throw to. I know you like Roman Wilson, but as a Michigan guy, I'm every week I'm like, man, these receivers got to get open half the time. So I know how you feel. And May didn't really have a great core either, but found a way. And he's not great under pressure either, as we saw. But yeah, I don't know. Spencer, I think great. And I think he's gonna be go down, good college football player. I'm so happy with how his career went after how it started at Oklahoma, because I think he got a bad rap in Lincoln Riley's system. I don't think a lot of Lincoln Riley at all, in terms of getting the best out of his players. So I'm glad Rattler went to South Carolina and had some success. And I think he'll continue to do that at the second tier of NFL, second tier of professional football.
He just didn't even have a run game. They had a guy that came from D2 to be his run game. He couldn't even get over 800 yards. Everything was working against this kid.
Yeah, I mean it was unfortunate. I don't disagree. That's why I'm drafting Legette here, because Legette is the man among boys on that team. He's so clearly one of the best players on the field when he's out there.
You know what this discourse reminds me of is the Will Levis discourse last year. It's but he didn't have any help, and he didn't have any O-line. Oh, but he threw turnovers every other play. But it's just funny. I never thought of
Josh Allen, though. You guys love Josh Allen.
So you guys were having that conversation. I never even thought of.
I'll be the first to say too, though. Josh Allen's the anomaly. You don't normally go to the NFL and get better on your accuracy. It doesn't.
And he didn't until he got Dayball. Right? They had to fix the offense for him, and he got coaching and got Stephon Diggs and Brian Dayball, and that's what figured it out, because he was a disaster the first 2 years, all over the place.
Will Levis got Callahan now. Let's see.
All right, Nito's a Levis stand too. Let's get this thing back on the rails. We'll throw it 302. Nino, you're on the clock, man.
I'm gonna go with my guy, Will Shipley. Nobody wants to talk about it for some reason. People want to give him a bad rap. This guy that's got over 5 yards per carry every single year. 3 years at Clemson. Last year he got hurt and was splitting carries with Phil Maffa, and almost a devastating neck injury. Came back and averaged 7 yards per carry for 3 straight games after that. I think this guy has the potential to be kind of like a baby CMC. He can catch. He can run. He has some explosive too. He's not the most shiftiest guy, but he's shifty enough to get out and extend plays. And he can pass pro. May not be the best, in other aspects, but he can keep his quarterback upright. I just think this guy playing in the ACC, playing in the Dabo, and everybody hating the way Clemson's played for the past 2-3 years. He's kind of got a bad rap, but he produces every single season. I'll take a guy that puts up 5 yards per carry for 3 straight years, at Clemson. At this point in the game, at the 3rd round, all day.
I love that pick, Nino. Love that pick.
Thank you.
Hey, we got some reconciliation going on. All right.
I was between him and
303. Thomas, who you got, man?
I went Malachi Corley here. I love yards after catch guys. I think he's people call him, he might call him a screens merchant, as they say on Twitter, but that's because they're manufacturing touches for him. He's just got the ball in his hands. He's a weapon with it. So I like that pick there.
Yeah, man, they're manufacturing touches for him because it's the only way to get him the ball because he can't get open. But the yards after catch stuff is really impressive. It's really fun. At 304, I went with Ben Sinnott from Kansas State, and I actually, I wish we had more film on him. And actually, the Dynasty Nerds just got a couple more games, so we're going to have those up in our film room really soon. So some people listening might be really excited to hear that. You can use promo code COOP to sign up for that film room for 15% off. But Ben Sinnott, really good receiving tight end. The little bit of film that we did have really popped. He looked good. I think the day 2 capital is going to be there. He's athletic. He's the kind of tight end that you want for fantasy because he is not going to be out there blocking a ton. He's going to be out there catching passes. And I think there's an argument you could even make for him over Jatavian Sanders. And so to get him here in the 3rd in a tight end premium league, I think it's good value.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Throw it to Rupert here, 305.
Yep.
Speaking of value, getting Michael Penix in the mid 3rd round in a Superflex league, I think was just something I couldn't pass up. It's going to be very dependent on landing spot. He's going to have to be like in a West Coast system, get a line in front of him, but there's potential there.
I mean, there's still consistently there are mock drafts that put him going in the 1st round of the NFL draft. And obviously, if that happened, he wouldn't be available anywhere near the mid 3rd. So
hey, he doesn't have the 30 grade that Spencer Rattler has. So.
Well, we don't want to reopen that can of worms. So to fend off an argument before it happens, Jackson, you're on the clock, 306.
Yeah, so this is another my guy. If you listen to the Couch Scouts,
he's not even on Sleeper, bro.
He's not even on Sleeper. I don't know who to put in his
disrespect. Just put in a placeholder.
We're gonna go this Charlie Smythe guy.
There we go.
Wherever he is. Yeah, Anthony Gould, wide receiver from Oregon State. I mean, when we watched this film, Cooper and Rupert, you can attest to this. We came away blown away with Anthony Gould. I mean, his route running, his yards after the catch, his speed is phenomenal. I mean, in the 3rd round, you're taking dart throws at guys and hoping somebody sticks. And if somebody's going to stick this year in the late round, I'm putting my money on Anthony Gould. I think he's a great player and somebody that I was ecstatic to get at this pick.
Yeah, not really on a lot of radars, as evidenced by the fact that he's not even on Sleeper. I mean, you might even be able to get him as an undrafted free agent off waivers after he doesn't get picked in your rookie draft. And I agree. I thought he was a great player. Small, maybe a day 3 pick, but he's got game, man. So we'll throw it to Foz at the 307. Who you got, Foz?
So I have Ray Davis because I screwed this up and didn't see that Michael Penix was drafted and thought I was getting Penix at 307. So that's a great pick in the middle of the 3rd round until he gets drafted by the Raiders or something. Then you're not going to be able to get him. But yeah, Ray Davis, bowling ball, SEC, Kentucky, right? I think he's a Kentucky guy. Let's do it. Let's do it. Ray Davis.
Over 900 yards for 3 different college teams.
That's my guy. I knew you would say it, Coop. I know you. I knew it.
Hey, man, he's productive and he's a good player. I think the concern is that he lacks NFL athleticism and that he's going to be 25 years old as a rookie. But, I mean, you're in the 3rd round. There's no perfect prospects. There's going to be red flags on all of them. He can ball, dude. I like the pick.
And I think just like a word of advice, just like general for like coaches' perspective, especially in the NFL, these NFL coaches, like most of the time, they just want these running backs to get 3.5 yards. That's it. They don't care about anything else. So like if Ray Davis is a guy that can get an NFL team 3.5 yards, like a Brian Robinson does in Washington, he's going to get the ball and make you so mad that the Ferrari is in the garage. You know,
That's true. There are a lot of
Be
those
ready
guys
for
in the NFL that keep the Ferraris in the garage and make fantasy people mad. So let's throw it over to Nino Brown, 308. Who'd you take?
I think the 308. I'm gonna take my guy here, Bo Nix. I just think that he's gonna end up in Denver and battling Zach Wilson for a year one start and roll.
And what a battle that's going to be.
Well, him and Sean Payton, I think, is actually a match made in heaven. Bo Nix, I think, will excel the best in a Sean Payton type scheme. You know, people want to talk about his deep ball accuracy. There is a little bit of concerns there, but I mean, the guy was one of the most accurate QBs in college football back-to-back years. Brings that running ability, right? Brings that processing ability. A lot of times people just take that first impression that you got of a guy and never can get that out of your head. The Auburn days are gone with Bo Nix. A lot of that, you could just flush that down the toilet. When you went to Eugene, things changed. And you've seen, I mean, 50 touchdowns last year, 40-plus touchdowns this year. I think the kid's a gamer. It's a possibility he could be, I know it's cliche, but he could be your next Brock Purdy, that game manager that just has, longevity if you surround him with the right pieces.
Yeah, he's definitely come a long way since the Oregon days. We'll throw it over to Thomas at 309. Who'd you take, man?
Yeah, I was debating actually between this at the 303, and so I was lucky to take Malik Washington here. I think, really kind of just that late senior breakout, but he's got the underrated route running ability. He's another yards after catch guy. I think he's going to be kind of a potent weapon for somebody, whoever gets to draft him.
Yeah, I like that pick. He would have been in heavy consideration for me with my next pick. But at the 310, I took my guy, Isaiah Davis. Man, I love Isaiah Davis from South Dakota State. He's, coming from a smaller school, might be a day 3 NFL draft pick. I don't know. But, man, the kid can ball. He's got really quick feet for being 218 pounds. He's not as explosive and bursty as some other running backs in this class, but he can really make people miss in the short area. He's very elusive. He got the highest contact balance grade in the class for me. Great tackle breaker. I mean, there were multiple plays he was breaking 4 or 5 tackles in one run. And so definitely one of the most fun tape watch guys that I had going through this class, and is definitely going to be one of my favorite late round darts to throw. So
love that pick.
Rupert, 311. Somebody had to do it.
I had to bite the bullet and take Braylon Allen. We didn't love his tape this year, and one of the things I kept on saying in the podcast was, he needs to lose 10 to 15 pounds, and it looks like he ended up coming in at the combine, 10 to 12 pounds lighter than what he was listed at this last year. So that was an encouraging side to me. I think he can play like the 230, 235 range, but he shouldn't be pushing 250 playing running back. But he's got some potential to be, first and second down bruiser, kind of bell cow that way. So at the end of the third round, I thought I'd take a chance there.
Yeah, and
I doubt he's going to last there in most other drafts.
Yeah, he would not be here in most drafts. There's usually a Braylon Allen guy in every draft. And it's interesting. I mentioned we've got 6 different guys here trying to avoid the groupthink thing. And none of us took him until now, which means none of us is super high on him. I mean, the production is there at a Big Ten school as a true freshman, 17 years old, coming into college. He puts up 1,200 yards in the Big Ten at Wisconsin. Like, he's been a Devy name for a long time, but when we got into the tape, we were pretty concerned about a lot of things. So I think it's telling that there's 6 of us in here that all study the tape, and he's still sitting here at 311. But I'll throw it to you, Jackson, for the 312.
Yeah, another bite the bullet guy, somebody that we didn't really like his film, but I felt like the value was there. He, as opposed to Braylon Allen, he at least is a speedy guy. He's got some burst and acceleration to him, and that's Tennessee's Jalen Wright. Didn't love his film. I felt like he's a guy that needs a large hole. He doesn't really create a lot on his own, but again, you're throwing darts at the end of the third round, and if he can be a guy that can at least get a hole sprung from him, he's got the speed to take it a long way. Kind of got some vision issues at the second level, but I'm not worried about that right here. So I'm picking Jalen Wright for the speed upside alone.
Yep, another guy that I think it's telling that he's still sitting on the board. So we're into the 4th round. Jackson, why don't you recap the 3rd round for us, and then we'll jump in. Round
At
4.
3-1, you got Xavier Leggett, 302, Will Shipley, 303, Malachi Corley, 304, Ben Sanu, 305, Michael Penix, 306 was Anthony Gould, 307 was Ray Davis, 308, Bo Nix, 309, Malik Washington, 310, Isaiah Davis, 311 was Braylon Allen, and 312 was Jalen Wright. We'll throw it to you, Foz, for 401. And this is where it gets interesting because we haven't exactly finished mocking picks yet. So this is going to be where we kind of do it live on the show for you guys. So that'll be fun.
For the record, I'm a Jalen Wright guy. I would have taken him like in this pick. I would take him 307 if I didn't screw it up by taking Penix when he wasn't available. But anyway, I picked Jacob Cowing. Just like 5. I'm not big on 5-year guys, especially wide receivers, but like so much production, like every year, like all the time. Like why not? 401. Let's do it.
Yeah, 402, that would be, we're going to Nino. Who you got 402?
Dot throw 402, going deep in a rookie draft. I'll go Brendan Rice. Pedigree's there, physical receiver. Saw him at the Senior Bowl. I mean, the guy just he has it. You want to play contested catch, you want to play the deep ball. He can play that. Get off the line, physical off the line. Doesn't have the best route tree, you know what I'm saying? But I think he could be a 2 somewhere, and he could be productive in year 1.
Yeah, I think that was a good pick. I mean, especially at this point, you're throwing darts, and we all liked his film moderately, whenever we watched it. So we'll go to 403, Thomas. That'll be you.
Yeah, I took Jalen Polk from Washington. All those Washington receivers are studs. We just saw the mock draft of one big mocker who took Jalen Polk to the Chiefs in the first round, which don't think that's going to quite happen. But where there's smoke, where there's fire, he's going to be appreciated by some teams, and so I think he's going to be definitely some guy who can contribute.
Dude, if Jalen Polk goes in the first round, I'm going to laugh so hard.
I find that highly unlikely, but
All right,
here we
moving
are.
on.
So at 404, I'm going to go ahead and take somebody that, by all accounts, is going to be gone by this point in any real rookie draft, and that's Keon Coleman from Florida State. I mean, at one point in the season, the hype train got so out of control. People were talking about this dude as the wide receiver 2 in the class, and then everybody actually watched the film. And consensus has cooled on him significantly because everybody realized this dude can't run routes. But he's got some of the absolute best ball skills in the class. Obviously, you've got size there, over 6'3", over 215 pounds, I believe. I don't have it right in front of me, but you can't teach that. And I'm not one that's usually a sucker for the size speed guys that can't run routes. Like, that's not my type. That's why he's here in the 4th round. But the upside at this point in the draft is tremendous. I think people kind of falsely equivocate upside with being tall and fast, which I don't think that necessarily means fantasy upside. I think actually route running is a lot more fantasy upside than that. But again, I mean, he's probably going to be a day 2 pick. If he learned to run routes at that size with those ball skills, I mean, look out, man. So I'm going to throw it over to Rupert at the 405.
Yeah, I want another FSU receiver here with Johnny Wilson. Huge guy, enormous wingspan, and his tape is jaw-dropping at times and head-scratching at others. But in 4th round, taking a chance on the upside here that he can kind of figure it out. He ran better routes than way better routes than I expected. I was not expecting much at his size, but he has some, good hip bend and is able to run better routes than I expected. So kind of we'll hope that he might be able to reach some upside there.
And it's tight end premium. So, hey, it's a good pick.
Yeah, maybe he makes the switch. He'd have to put on some weight. Maybe he learns to catch at some point, too. That would be really helpful.
Butterfingers.
Kind of important, right?
All right, Jackson, 406. Who you got?
406. I took another Washington receiver that I like better than Jalen Polk. Jalen McMillan. His route running is problems. I feel like he doesn't separate as well as he needs to, but the yards after the catch is there. I feel like he's got some pretty strong hands. At this point, again, you're just throwing darts. So I'm going to take the dart on the Washington receiver that I liked a little more, taking Jalen McMillan there.
Man, I don't think his route running is a problem at all. I think he's a little bit on the smaller, softer side of things. The ball skill is not as much there, but I thought at least in the short intermediate area, he ran really crisp routes. So let's throw it to Foz at 407.
I'm a sucker for these mid-major running backs that are like highly productive and explosive. So I went Kamani Vidal here. I was huge on Pierre Strong and I was huge on Jerome Ford. And so Kamani Vidal is just fitting that archetype for me in the 4th round right here. Love this pick.
Here's another guy I wish we had more tape on. What I saw I liked for sure. I think that's a good dart to throw. Nino, 408. Who you got, man?
I'll go with a dot throw. I'm going to go with a guy out of Purdue, Tyron Tracy Jr. He's a little older guy, right? This is going to be, I think he was 6 years in college and he couldn't get off in Iowa. But I mean, this is a guy that like literally was very, very productive. 8 yards first year per carry at Purdue. Then last year he kind of burst on the scene, 6 yards per carry, eight touchdowns, and 700 yards. Did that with splitting time with Devin Mockabee. So, I mean, the kid's explosive. He's got a good balance of burst, explosive athleticism. So, at this point, I think he could be a late round pick in the NFL draft, but I think in the 4th round, I think this guy could be a running back by committee filler, and could be a red zone guy. You know what I mean? Could be a guy you just stash and play sparingly.
If I'm not mistaken, he's also a converted wide receiver, so he's still learning the position. Yep. He's got that PPR upside because he's got good hands. So, yeah, I like that pick this late. Thomas, 409. Who's your pick?
Yeah, I went with one of my guys, Anais Smith. He, out of Texas Tech, if I'm not incorrect.
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. It's one of those Texas schools down south. He's, he's got history that can turn a lot of people away. He's not got a great analytical profile, but he's just so much fun to watch. He's got that great kind of ball skills, and he might end up only being a punt returner, but if he's got the kind of upside of being a weapon with the ball in his hand, I'm going to take that.
I love that philosophy of taking guys that are really good at returning late in the drafts because they have that kind of upside. I guess that's sucker from seeing Steve Smith back in the day as a Panther fan, but
that dude tore his knee apart, right? And literally, I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl, and he told me that he had to learn how to run again. And everybody forgot about him because Evan Stewart existed at Texas A&M. But if you looked at this year, he was productive. Where the dude that's coming off an ACL injury had to learn how to run again. Now you got another year. He might work his way onto a team's receiving corps, not just be a special teamer.
Yeah, and he also had a DUI arrest too, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how much that affects draft capital. But I mean, again, it's round 4. You're shooting for upside. So at the 410, I took Dylan Johnson, running back out of Washington. I think Dylan Johnson is limited in some ways just from a speed and burst and explosiveness standpoint. He just doesn't look that athletic to me on tape. But he's a great power back, breaks a lot of tackles, and has a pretty astonishingly great pass catching profile for somebody that is a power back. So, I mean, if you're big enough to play on 1st and 2nd down and get the goal line work and you're catching passes, I think there's some upside there. I don't think he starts for an NFL team. I think he's probably a day 3 pick if he even gets drafted. But, let's say he ends up a number 2 running back somewhere and the starter gets hurt. I think he could come in and produce for your fantasy team. And at least with a running back here, this is a little bit of game theory, but you take a running back, when to start him. Because as soon as that starter gets hurt, he's the guy. Now I can plug him into my fantasy lineup and feel great about it. A wide receiver that's like the wide receiver 3 or 4 on his team, like you never know which week he might get lucky and catch a 50-yard touchdown. You just don't know what weeks those productions are coming. The backup running backs are a lot more predictable. So I like that when I'm shooting late in the draft like this.
2 schools, Cooper. He had 40+ receptions. Mississippi State and Washington. That's huge.
Absolutely. I mean, because he played in the Leach system. Right. Which they throw to running backs a ton. So he got that experience early on at Mississippi State, catching lots and lots of passes. So Rupert, I'll throw it to you at 411.
Yeah, and Tiny Premium League getting Cade Stover here at the end of the 4th round. I love it. Great value. I think he has high upside. So really excited to get him here.
I hate you so much.
I knew it.
Know who you're drafting with.
Just so you guys know, buy the rookie guide, because for the sheer fact that I'm the one that's raising Cade Stover's rank in our rookie guide a little higher than it probably would be if they made the guide themselves. So And then at 212 or 412, don't really have a pick here, but he's kind of staring me in the face. And I know that he's not a guy that we really love. He's not an our guy. But I'm taking Devontae Walker there at 412. Look, again, doesn't run good routes. He doesn't manipulate the defense well at all, but he's got the speed. And at this point, I'm going to take a shot on the upside of the speed that maybe he can be a downfield threat, and especially in leagues where you just need him to catch a 60-yard bomb, and that's the fantasy points for starting him. I mean, I'm taking him with the mystery relevant pick in this mock draft.
Good pick, man. Well, if you've stuck with us this long through 4 rounds, first of all, thank you. And second of all, stick around just a minute longer so we can tell you where to find us. Thank you to Nino, Thomas, and Foz for joining us tonight. I want you guys to tell the people where they can find you on social media. We'll start with you, Thomas.
Yeah, no, I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter, as PetroPete01. I do a lot of music stuff. I do a lot of fantasy football stuff. So if you want to follow me there, that'd be fun.
Absolutely. Nino, where can they find you, man?
You can find me on X as well at __ Nino Brown __. And I'm all into the college football, man. I'm excited to get past the draft right now and dive into all these new Devy prospects.
Yeah, man. If you need a college football fix, Nino is your guy. And last but not least, John, where can they find you, man?
I'm at Fosberry64, FOZberry64 on Twitter. Yeah, I just love talking ball no matter what. Like, I also, get a heavy dose of like Premier League soccer, Liverpool FC, and all that fun stuff too. So if you want to talk soccer, I can do that too.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys being on the show tonight. They know their stuff, so definitely follow them. And thank you for all your contributions to the brand too, as we've been growing Couch Scouts. You guys have all contributed in significant ways to that. And so real quick, the guys that are normally on the show, Rupert, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Matthew Rupert FF on Twitter /X.
Jackson?
Yeah, you guys can find me at DevyMatt on Twitter. And then make sure you guys join the Discord as well. We haven't mentioned that as well, but the Discord will be in the link of the show. Get in there. We've had a lot of new people here recently, so get in there if you want to talk ball with any number of the guys that were on the show tonight.
Absolutely. You can find me at CouchScoutsFF on X/Twitter. And if you're listening on an Apple Podcast, you can find the YouTube show, youtube.com/@CouchScouts. So definitely come check out the YouTube. And again, remember, we're doing a giveaway. So leave a comment on the YouTube or a 5-star review on Apple, and you'll be entered to win a free copy of that rookie guide. And we'll announce the winner next week. Appreciate you guys sticking with us, and we'll see you next week.